Hello. Usually I should be at the bar and bartending, but my side job is being a janitor in this crap office. We are today to talk about some new intern who is going to introduce MÖRK ORG, whatever that is. What's your idea? Chris Lowry. And yeah, how about you introduce yourself and tell me what are you doing in your work or free time, if even free time is available for an intern?
Yeah, well, no one's instructed me yet on the free time available with the job. The person who showed me to my desk actually said, well, I don't know, they've chained me to the desk. Is that normal here?
Pretty sure it's normal. I've been a bucket sometimes. It's quite okay for the alcohol, so and everyone thinks it's a cleaning liquid. It cleans all right. My memories.
Yeah, so I'm Chris Lowry, also known as CM Lowry, and I make games, which is not a huge surprise on this particular podcast. And we're here to talk about MÖRK ORG, which launches. Well, probably by the time you see this, it will already have launched, but it launches on the 29th of October.
Here, right now, pause the video, go into the description and check out the MÖRK ORG. If you would like to know some more, listen closely.
If you like dodgy roleplay of people pretending to be in an office, one of our promo videos for it, I've actually got a load of my mates in various types of costume. If you do watch it, there's one of my friends who's a vampire, and it took me about 3 hours to put teeth in. And I'm not sure anyone has noticed the teeth except me, because he ended up really small. But never mind. So do that, and then that's your little nugget there.
To be honest, I've seen it, and I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Ridiculous.
What exactly are you doing as Beyond Cataclysm? Is it a company? Is it a one-person job?
Sure, yeah. So Beyond Cataclysm is sort of 2 or 3 people as a collective. We are a little publishing company. I even have a stack. Look. Oh, they've all disappeared on my green screen. If I put them in front of me, there you go.
Yeah. Just replace that with your face and.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, like right in front of the face, much more pretty. So, I mean, these are all the books that we brought out in the last couple of years. I'm going to lean in front so it doesn't disappear. So we are a mixture of, we like publishing fiction and roleplay games. If I could jump on a couple of things that we've done recently. So we've done quite a few different MÖRK BORG related hacks. So 4 Borg uses exploding D4s instead of the normal set. I
remember that campaign. It was crazy.
Yeah, well, we set I'll explain. So we did a serious proper project. This is ISBN Coffee. Okay, so the idea of this was a book of fiction and poetry all about, and like roleplay games all about coffee. And the idea was a bag of coffee, like coffee beans, with its own ISBN number. So for those of you who don't know, the ISBN number is this little number that disappears. This little number
yes.
At the back of a book. So we wanted to do
every single published book has it.
Yeah, but you can't put it on a bag of coffee. It's not allowed, as in it's only allowed on books. So the whole the joke kind of thing was that we do an ISBN number for the book, and then the coffee has it as well. And so we did that campaign, and it's really nicely laid out. Maybe there's some nice shots of it will come up in a bit on the video when you edit it. But and we got contributors from around the world. We went on podcasts, chucked in absolutely tons of effort into it, and it raised, drumroll, £900 on Kickstarter, which was not very much money. And I was so annoyed about it. I made a stupid D4 based hack of MÖRK BORG, and I put it on Kickstarter for £4. And it raised, I don't know, £2,000 or £3,000. And so I kept updating it with what percentage of its target, so if you get to £100, you've already reached 50,000% or something. So
yeah, something like that.
So we publish. If you're an indie creator, we also do fulfillment for campaigns. So I'm sure we're going to talk about Court Borg, but Parwell, is it Parwell or Parvel?
It's Pavel.
Pavel, because it's got the weird little
yes,
L.
exactly that. Yeah. Because of the slice.
So we did the UK fulfillment of MÖRK BORG, and we do a lot of stuff for Christian Eichhorn as well. So we kind of have fingers in a lot of pies. We also run the What Is Roleplay podcast, which has been going for about 2 years now, where we look at different kind of concepts in roleplay rather than like systems or particular games. So we, like the last one we did, we got Luke from Pirate Borg, and we talked about pirates, and we always end with a little actual play at the end where we sort of just make up a system on the fly. So we don't have like, because what we're looking at is the concepts of, you know, hats in roleplay games. What do hats mean, and how could you use hats? and then at the end, we've never done hats. It's always my example. I'd quite like to.
Oh my, you can make a whole RPG about different hats, different abilities, different spells, different armor. What happens when you lose all your hats?
You've got hat magic, like hats upon hats, you know. Like
yes, exactly that. To be honest, I am a huge hat fan. I have a couple of different hats. If you would tell me earlier, I would be right now with a lot of hats on my head. Hat magic is something that I didn't know I needed in my life. Now I crave it.
Well, because we're doing this whole office vibe, I thought that thing is, I looked through my shirts and you asked me to wear white, and I literally don't have a white shirt. So I'm actually wearing an old 10K running t-shirt. But yeah, if I had any smart hats, like in the 20s where like everybody wore a hat, like, yeah, that would be the way.
That's beyond Cataclysm books and is here repertoire. What about MÖRK ORG? What exactly is it? Can you explain it to me and the audience and to the interviewer?
So I think in a sentence, it's comedy.
Explain it. Wait a second. I'm gonna stop you right there. Explain it in a way that a salesman would explain it, because you are.
I am a salesman now. Do you like roleplay games? Do you hate living or working in an office? Well, the combination of those two, MÖRK ORG, a comedy horror role-playing game set in the worst office in the world. How was that?
That's perfect. I think it will be a good score on your monthly review. So yeah, it's a MÖRK BORG, but with the office twist. Could you elaborate on this? Is it like Hell Corporation, or is it smaller size? So what exactly can you do in the MÖRK ORG, and who are the players?
So the underlying idea of MÖRK ORG is the idea of how completely miserable most of our experiences are of going to offices and like working in normal jobs, like selling our soul to go and work in a job. And there's loads of examples that you read online of like of people just realizing their job is actually like completely pointless, like as in if they didn't turn up for a day, just no one would notice. And so MÖRK ORG takes MÖRK BORG and Cyborg and frankly every other Borg, because it's intentionally a little bit loose. It's not got a really, really strong setting of this is exactly the world you live in. It's more gives you a flavor of this is the kind of pointless offices that actually, for some reason, exist in Galgenbeck. They exist inside. They exist on a pirate island that you happen to land on. There just happens to be a sort of dilapidated 3-story building with a multi-story car park, but you're not allowed a parking space. Like no one has cars, but still your line manager has a better parking space than you and holds it over you.
It's a parking space inside of a harbor.
Like literally, exactly. The idea is those kind of really petty things, like somebody saying, can you please make sure you label your sandwiches in the fridge? And the fridge is locked, so no one can go in it anyway, but they still point out that you need to label your sandwiches, that kind of stuff. And then what we do is we blend that with the worst type of diabolical horror that you can possibly imagine. So, the person next to your desk was immolated at lunch and is just burnt to a crisp. And you don't really care about that because you're much more annoyed about the fact that you got told off for being 2 minutes late to work. So it's like the pettiness of the real world is actually more painful than whatever, monsters that live underneath your desk. So it lets you play with those things. I think really it's quite cathartic as well, because a lot of people have said, isn't this a bit too close to real life? Like, I hate my job. Why would I want to be there? But the point here is, fine, you shouldn't really necessarily have fantasies of wanting to like chop your boss's head off with a sword. But if you turn your boss into like an actual ogre who is eating people, well then using a stapler to like burst his eyes is probably reasonable. Like so it allows you
especially
to kind of
self-defense.
Yeah, well, exactly. It lets you safely kind of interact with some of the more painful ideas of having to work under completely despicable people.
Mm-hmm. I've just thought of 2 shows that would be my main reference. Of course, The Office, as obviously, and Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is maybe a little bit weird that I mentioned it, but because it's it's a comedy about cops, about police, about a certain police station, but they are working in the office. They have their own office. They have this very weird people working there, each one with their own quirks. You can change like Terry Crew character into a troll who is or a black knight with armor, and he is working on the computer with armor.
Yeah, but also obsessed about yogurt. Like that still totally fits.
And obsessed about yogurt, exactly that, with a whole bucket of yogurt.
I think your main characters though would be more fulfilling the role, mostly in terms of their level of purpose. With is it Scully? I'm trying to remember the name of the 2 completely useless characters.
Yeah, I thought about them as well.
Yeah, like as in, but like that's the company you work for. Like that's actually what it does. It's just if they didn't turn up, it wouldn't matter. But the difference is that you would be like so penalized for not turning up. Like as in you're treated as if everything you do super matters, and yet it just doesn't at all. So, but yeah, I mean, The Office. The other one, of course, is Office Space, the film, where I don't know if you've seen that, but it's a bit of a cult classic. There's where they're all working in a pointless office, and one of them comes up with a computer system that adds half a penny from every transaction that the business makes. He gets transferred into a different account and then accidentally makes like £500 million. But yeah,
it reminds me. I am an IT guy. Sometimes I hear about the cases when you are logging your time and you are evaluated by not the amount of work has been done, but the amount of the lines of code.
Yeah.
So you are going to make a lot of very stupid, meaningless code, and you're gonna be praised by it.
Well, yeah. So like so in this setting, and so MÖRK ORG, it absolutely blurs the line between so like there are computers, but you can totally play in a MÖRK BORG kind of medieval fantasy setting, and I just intentionally hand wave over it. Maybe computers are powered by demonic magic. Fine.
Maybe it's a Warhammer 40k, and you are almost a servitor working on a servitor.
But like you say there,
like your monitor has a face.
Like exactly, and but the bit there where you get rewarded for meaninglessness over actual value, like so if you're a customer service agent and you're having to do telephone calls, but you're not marked for like, are people satisfied or have you resolved it? It's just how many can you do? So you just start picking up the phone, shouting at people and hanging up one after another, screaming again and again, and like get rewarded for being the best worker in the office. Like, yeah,
because you made the biggest amount of calls, and they were like half a second worth, but
and it's built to the game's built to reward that kind of nonsense. So have you ever played Paranoia, the roleplay game where you're in a kind of a horrible it's the one where like the computer is your friend, and one of the things you do in that is constantly suck up to the computer and constantly throw your friends under the bus. So in this, and it's something I've a little bit adjusted the honor system from Ronan. If you've played, I've actually got a copy of Ronan here. Let's have a look. Does that show up?
Yes, we did. We did. We even have a recorded session. I just need to edit it.
But so we did the fulfillment for that as well. But yeah, so in Ronan there's an honor system, an honor code system, and I like what they do there. I think Ronan's a little bit more on the serious end of the spectrum.
Yes, it is.
There's almost no jokes in there, which is very unusual.
It's rare for a MÖRK BORG game to be such a serious tone, but it fits very well with this whole honor. You are the last honorable one in this dying world full of yokai and demons, and everything is black, red, white, and it's not a Kill Bill. It's more like a Japanese movie, not a Japanese mock.
Yeah, I mean, I worry we're getting too close to saying positive things about ninjas here, and I really don't want to do that because ninjas are basically fundamentally weak and pathetic. And if any of you here,
imagine being a ninja in the office, he would be more useless than you are.
Well, exactly. But yeah, so I stole. Thank you, Sasha, for letting me steal. But no, I looked at the idea of the honor system where your honor can go up and down and can impact on kind of your afterlife and your next characters. So I've got the promotion point system, which I already kind of had an idea for, but really all it is it gives the GM the opportunity to just give you points arbitrarily, but so like just to annoy everyone else, have 10 points because you made a really good call there, and if you ever get to 10 you get promoted, and so you don't get promoted from your role. So say you're an intern, you just go from being a level 1 to a level 2 intern, and you get like a small amount of money, a new title. You're now the assistant intern, or like the assistant to the regional manager, which is
next time you will be a senior intern.
Yeah, a senior assistant intern. Still not, like as in. So even the new titles are demeaning. Like that's the whole point of this. Is just promotion isn't really promotion, and it's all about just being well. Actually, now I'm a level 3 and you're only a level 2. What it also gives the opportunity for is demotion. So you could become a level -2 intern, and you could. I haven't written them in yet, but I'm going to have a list of like negative job traits you can have, like that you can add. So instead of just being like you're like the sub senior, like as in some negative prefixes you can add in there, and that'll have a slight mechanical thing. So if you get promoted, you'll get +1 to one of your abilities, and if you get demoted, you'll get -1 to one of your abilities. So if your character survives that long, and if you annoy so you'll never get fired, because getting fired would actually be a release from this horrorscape that you live in. So everything just gets worse. Instead of getting fired would almost be a good thing to happen in comparison to having to continue working.
Of course you can die there, right? Is there alternative to a calendar of Necrobell? Like is a deadline or of some kind, or is it just a never-ending story of like being in this horrorscape, just as you've told?
Yeah. So the GM in this game is the HRM, the HR manager, and so HR are the kind of because they really view you all.
I'm not saying that the GM is the antagonist in every kind of game, but
the GM's definitely the antagonist in this game. No, but yeah, I agree. Sometimes, I mean, it's a balance. I think one of the beauties I love of role-playing games is they don't nail down a lot of this stuff. And so almost every GM, even in traditional games like D&D or whatever, they end up being NPCs, don't they? So they end up having a face in the game. Here, HR, you can do whatever you want with it, really. So the HR manager could be a kind of quasi-CEO, just telling everyone what to do, or HR could just be this distant thing that just dictates from afar. We've got a new memo through from HR saying that everyone isn't allowed to wear shoes today, or as in. So there's a whole range of different ways that you can do that. I can't remember what your question was though.
I was asking about the calendar of Necrobell. Is it an alternative to that?
Yeah, so there is one. There's gonna be the HR manual, which is gonna have a list of increasingly worse things. If I'm really honest though, and I might Johan Noor might come and attack me with a sword. I've never used the calendar, and I've played loads of Mork BORG. Yeah, Like, as in, I don't know. I'm not saying that the calendar's bad. I've just never really needed. I think even when we've done campaigns, so like we played. So Ronan's got its own calendar. I played Ronan with some of our youth group the other week, and we actually played the pre-built scenario. I forgot what it's called now. The Princess of Snow, Tears of the Frozen Tears of the Lady of the Snow, and here it is.
Oh, exactly that.
Yeah. So I ran that, and so that's set up as quite a simple little campaign that you could do, kind of built to be kind of 2 or 3 sessions. There's kind of a few different locations.
I've done it in one.
Yeah, well, exactly. Depends how long your session is. Depends how you play a group. I managed to get my players in 2.5 hours onto the first sentence of the first page. Because they're just idiots. Most players are. So I drew a map. I had to go and take a call or something. So I said, while I'm going upstairs, here's a big bit of paper. Draw out this map for me. I need a village. I need like a shop. I need, a few things here and a bridge. Draw that. So I come back and they've drawn that. And then they've drawn some holes in the ground. And I'm like, what are these holes? And I went, we just wanted some holes. And then they spent 2 hours fighting bears in the holes. Like, as in, so it will have a calendar, and it will have the same opportunity where you can lengthen or extend how many events you have, and it will trigger down to some terrifying kind of end result. I have not written the calendar yet, but yeah, it's going to be I'm thinking a bit. I don't know if you've ever listened to Slayer, but they did a book cover once for one of their albums called "God Hates Us All" that had a Bible with nails nailed into it with loads of blood. I was thinking not that exactly, but that was my aesthetic for the HR manual.
Nice. The calendar is my main anchor in the MÖRK BORG. Like, I use it all the time. I sometimes use it just as a reference. Like, I'm not rolling it rules as written usually. I usually just use it.
I think it's a great narrative construct, and I think it gives a nice. I think it's good to have a timeline working next to you. It's probably quite rare that I play a full campaign in MÖRK BORG anyway. Like,
me too. It's more like
I'm much more often do one. I mean, that's
all one shot.
And that reflects generally how I play anyway. Like, as in, I don't manage to get a full campaigns together of most RPGs. So I think if I was running a campaign, categorically, it would absolutely be at the core of my timeline, and kind of, each session, it'd be a real big moment of us kind of rolling that. But yeah, I think because we don't do that, I almost feel like I don't want to start the ball rolling on that, because it will then it almost like then means that what happens today almost doesn't matter as much because it's not part of that. I don't know. Anyway, but I absolutely recognize its importance, and I'm looking forward to having that aspect in the game.
It's just great to hear that people are playing the same game very differently, and it just shows the genius of the design. About the design, we have a saying in Poland, in Polish RPG fandom, that why when it's Warhammer, which essentially is, you need some context for that. The first ever RPG outside of Poland that has been printed and published in Poland was the Warhammer first edition, not the D&D. And the Warhammer took the whole fandom by storm, and right now it's being played. Well, a couple of years back it was more popular than D&D. Right now it's kind of even. There's still a lot of people who are playing the first edition. The first edition even has a nickname. It's called Pierdycja. And you can roughly translate it to a fart edition. Yeah, nice. You could translate it to a fart edition, like it's a first and fart at the same time. And the meme is that each time someone is talking about any other RPG than Warhammer or any other playstyle setting, world, anything different than Warhammer, people are commenting this topic like, why bother when you have Warhammer? You can play anything on Warhammer. And to follow up this long elaborated joke, why MÖRK ORG when there is already a Polish Borg? What are the differences, similarities? Why is it complementary or not? like I know that you are friends, and I know you are not rivals. You are distributing the core borg yourself, so it's a good I think relationship between you two. But to point out, we need to talk about it.
Yeah. So this is Court Borg here, which is as you can see, there's a little bit of stylishness to it on that cover there. You've got a little bit more sits. I mean, here's what the back cover says: corporations rule the world. It's got a setting that's a bit like, it reminds me, when I read Court Borg, it reminds me of if you've watched The Matrix.
Yes.
When he.
Yes,
like,
it is.
Yeah, like all of those bits where they're fighting on top of office blocks, or when people in dark suits are walking around.
The very first scenes in the office when Neo is still Mr. Anderson in the cubicle, I recognize Court Borg as a reverse Matrix, because they want to escape this hellish corporation, which is a real world, and they want to escape to the Matrix, to the mundane.
So I think there's an aesthetic difference, which is that there's a coolness to it. Like Court Borg is cool, MÖRK ORG isn't cool. So you should probably just buy Court Borg because it's cool and everyone wants to be cool. So that's one. And then two, there's a bit of a purpose in Court Borg. There's a kind of idea of taking down the corporations, taking down the system, and like escaping. I wouldn't say it's a hopeful game, but there's at least the potential that you could have hope. Whereas MÖRK ORG isn't a hopeful game, and it doesn't really have any purpose. All you can really, you're never going to beat the system. So at least you might try and be a slightly more powerful bit of the system. So it's much more like in The Office. Like when you watch The Office and you look at Dwight, like, does Dwight have success at the end of 9 series? Yeah, I think there's a bit of a happy ending, but actually the vast majority of that series is Dwight power tripping, being disappointed, and staying very small, really. Like, even when he has success, he's a very small person with kind of very narrow horizons in some way. That's what MÖRK ORG is. As a little bit of background, we're not rivals. We had the idea for MÖRK ORG about 2.5 years ago. You can actually hear, I don't think we mentioned it on the podcast, but on episode 3 of What Is Roleplay, I talked to Johan Nora at Tabletop Gaming Expo, and I was very excited about the idea and needing to do it. And then I took some time getting together. I kind of really wanted to make sure we did it really well. You've mentioned there's a lot of MÖRK BORG hacks out there, and there are. And if we're honest, and I'm definitely not going to name any names, but like some of them don't quite hit the bar. Like, as in, there's a very high bar of art and writing style. Like
yes. Like what I love about MÖRK BORG is that the art. Well, you can tell, like in Baroque-esque manner, that the form is more important than the content. And that's sometimes MÖRK BORG is being accused at. I disagree. The form complements the content. The form lifts up the content, and you have to be. And it's a thin line between doing it right and wrong. And I get what you mean by saying that it's a high bar.
Yeah, exactly. It's a high bar, and you're completely right. The two of them need to go really well together. What really happened with Court Borg is we were getting near to launch, so we had our pre-launch live on Kickstarter, and then Pavel works much faster than I do as a human, and basically had the idea and went for it. And so we were already actually on Kickstarter, and we had a date. We were sort of aiming for December of last year, and we thought, we can't do an office-based one 3 months after there's just been one on Kickstarter. So we kind of left it a bit. I mean, also that makes it sound like we're a lot more strategic and planned than just we're slow. I think we do want to do it really well, and we've got. Part of it is we've got loads and loads of contributors on board. So we've got Johan doing some art. We've got Pele from MÖRK BORG writing for it. We've got Pavel writing for it as well. Who else have we got? We've got the creator of Forbidden Psalm on board. We've got Christian Eichhorn. We've got, I could keep listing some more names, but we've got about 10 contributors. So yeah, we're quite excited, and we've also got Guilherme Gontijo doing our layout, who's designed a lot of games like. Going to struggle, but he's done some MÖRK BORG related ones as well. He did one of the ones that's on a big vinyl. I'm trying to remember the name of that.
Oh, Punk is Dead.
Yeah,
it's
no,
coming to me right now. So I'm just waiting.
He did. No, he did one of the.
Oh yeah, Petrusens.
Yeah. That's it, yeah.
I have it on my desk.
There we go. So Gontijo's we're friends. As much as you can be friends with someone you've only met like a few times over the internet who lives in Brazil when you live in England.
That's just what making games does to people. They are quickly to be friends because of this passion.
Exactly, and so yeah, it's a bit of an honor he's a bit of a hero really, so it's an honor to be working with him as well. Have I said enough? They do work together, absolutely. Like, because fundamentally, at its core,
the core Borg may be a sequel or a prequel, depends of your promotion or not.
Yeah, I suppose. You could totally set things in the same world. The core of the rule system. So MÖRK BORG uses 4 stats. Cyborg uses 5, and Borg uses 5. We're sort of using 4.5. So we're using 4, and then whatever your skill is, so say you're the intern, then your skill is sucking up. And then what that has is so anything that involves sucking up to the boss.
You have a skill based on your class?
You have a skill based on your class that's different for each one, and it has a specialization that you roll in character creation. So, for example, as the intern, so you've got sucking up, but then you've got a D6 table that might be I haven't got it in front of me, but so one of them is making coffee, like another one would be like running errands, and that specialty doubles your skill, doubles your attribute. So, say you've got a +2. In sucking up, okay, you're now squaring it, okay, so you've got a +4 in your so it's intentionally a bit unbalanced, and it means you're going to really lean into doing really stupid, not very useful stuff. It also squares the other way, so if you're a -3 at sucking up, that would make you a -6 at making coffee. And any player that you give the ability to have the skill to make coffee at a -6, they're just going to do it all the time. They're going to burn themselves. They're going to burn everyone around them. They're going to make some truly terrible coffee. And the thing is, if they ever make a good cup of coffee, if they manage to succeed, it'll be such a wonderful moment in the game. And it's that kind of stuff that MÖRK ORG is all about. Just stupid, petty things that then become. Have you ever seen the episode of The Office where they hold an Olympics in the office? They hold an Olympics.
No, I didn't.
And they've got medals that they've made out of little bits of foil, and it's rubbish fundamentally. But by the end of it, and like some stuff happens in Michael's life in that episode, he ends up getting a gold medal, and he's standing there as they play some music, and he's crying because of just how much the mundane life and something that has we quite like that aspect because we think it'll encourage really silly role playing, and there'll be some interesting stuff as well. As the intern, you've got this extra skill that you can do, so you're just going to approach things, and mechanically you could just use presence for that. For sucking up, it's still a kind of a social skill.
But yes.
But the fact that it has that, I just think will really add an easy to grab onto role playing. Well, and in playtesting, it shows it does. It has this really nice thing that you can grab onto.
That's amazing to hear that you are really tackling the formula, right? You are not just copy and pasting the MÖRK BORG. I've seen some hacks that do basically that and do not add anything else. and you are adding that. That's great to hear. Let's go back to the game master. And what can he do? Like, besides being an in-game HR manager, and he is of course role playing as other NPCs. What are the tools that he gets to torture like characters?
So fundamentally, we're setting the game up with kind of two main play styles. Like we've already talked about, you can approach MÖRK BORG in whatever way you want, can't you? So it's a bit like Pirate Borg. I was saying with Luke when I interviewed Luke a few weeks ago, I've never done any ship-to-ship combat. I've never used any of the sailing rules, anything like that in Pirate Borg. So there's two main aspects. One of them is that office style, where you go through a normal day and you have to deal with just the normal tasks that you would have in an office, you know. And what you do there is you would give each player a little bit of a moment in the spotlight, almost like scenes from, I don't know if you've ever played the game Fiasco.
I haven't, but I heard a lot of good stuff about it.
Yeah, so Fiasco is great.
I do want to play it sometime.
Yeah, and it's for anyone who's a bit scared, oh, hang on, this doesn't sound like OSR. It's not actually like Fiasco, but what Fiasco does is each player takes a turn being the head of their own little scene. So what you would do in this is you would say, okay, you're on customer service, so you're going to take a call. And then you might, instead of the HR manager being on the telephone, you might say, does anyone want to be the annoying person they have to deal with on the phone? So one playstyle is just going through normal days and seeing what events happen in those days.
Basically play to find out, right?
Yeah, exactly. Play to find out. And often the way you'll start those days is you'll start with a meeting at the beginning of the day. And that's where, as the HR manager, you're present at that meeting, and you can. So one of the traits of the CEO that I like is you can have more than one character who's the CEO, and they can constantly be arguing and trying to curry favor with each other about who is the actual CEO. So it's in even that really you're just very much a puppet king behind the dark throne that is held by HR. So HR would hold that meeting, and you can use that as an opportunity to say, okay, guys, remember, we need 100 sales today. So you can give them one thing that has to happen throughout the day. So it's quite like that calendar. I think, you know, like as in you're saying, we need 100 sales through the day, and you can go through the day and say, okay, it's lunchtime. We're going to have a lunchtime meeting now. Let's talk about how many sales we're at. Okay. We're at 0 sales. You've had 4 hours and it's 0 sales. And then the HR manager can just kill one of the interns, you know, like as in bring the guillotine in. Okay. You know, so interns are fundamentally disposable creatures in the game. So that's one style where you go through that. We've got some of the writers from I'm trying to remember the name of their company, and McGuffin and Co. Press. Ever seen the game Odd Jobs? We've got them writing but they've got them writing a Monday to Friday kind of like set of ideas and threads that you can throw towards for that. So that's one. The other option is much more the standard way that you play dungeon games, which is you're going to throw everyone together with one problem, and they're going to go through an office, which is the dungeon in this case, and try and resolve that issue. So the starter scenario game is going to be, we haven't got a title for it yet, but we're play testing it, so we'll nail down the details, titles and things afterwards. But basically, the contract that was needed to get finished by Friday afternoon has gone missing. And so you're going through the dungeon, which is the office, and you're trying to hunt down that thing. So in that way, as the HR manager or the GM, you're playing it very much like a normal game. You're going to give them the challenge, and then they go. So, you know, you go into the typing pool, there's no one in there, just bodies. Can you smell gas? What do you do now? You know, like as in that kind of thing where the players will explore and you'll kind of shape it round them, but you do have a clear framework for here's your dungeon, here's the kind of the problems that you're going to find in each room, and here's, you know, it will give a little bit of a thread of maybe the obvious place where the contract is. It's not there. Maybe that's booby trapped. So you've got to search some other rooms, and there's probably going to be a boss of some kind, who's some goblin.
The contract is the boss. Fun fact:
Yeah,
the contract has now legs, soul, and a pin as a weapon, and he doesn't want to be signed.
Exactly. So those are the two main ways that you'd interact with it, but I'm sure people will find other ways too as well.
I have a controversial opinion that OSRs, for me, mostly I am focused on MÖRK BORG. I rarely play any other OSR game.
Yeah.
For me, they are the best when you're playing them as a narrative game, not as a dungeon crawling game. That's just my opinion. I love Play to Find Out. I love PBTA. I love Plays in the Dark, and my play style fits the Borg aesthetic, fits the Borgish very simple rules that you can hack in the middle of a play, and you can modify them to your liking to be as much player front as possible. You do not need to go like it was a DCC. For example, like you don't need to dungeon crawl to have a very good time with Borg games, especially when you are referring them as NSRs, like New School Revival, which is like I heard that is a third generation of OSRs, which is further from the first edition of D&D, and you can basically name it as a different genre. And the playstyles is
I think that
different.
We did a retreat a couple of years ago, and we played through some proper, well, not OSR, just some proper OS. We played a
okay.
I think we played some BX, and we played one of the classic games, and gosh, it was quite dry, and it was quite and there was a lot of it was built so that you had like a whole entourage of minions who were your so I would agree with you that there is OSR is a bit of a lie sometimes, because if it's OSR, then we can just play the OS. Those games still exist, don't they? So I like the new school revival vibe. I think lots of people, I've heard lots of people get very angry saying MÖRK BORG's not an OSR game, so I'm not going to get excited. I think we don't want to get cancelled straight away.
To be honest, the Borg is the only OSR that made me like some of the OSR aspects. Because for a time being, I was really into roleplay. I was really into heavy emotions. I did not like any of equipment mechanics, or I hate turn-based combat. I always speed it up in my games. I always try to make it as much narrative driven, as much like narrative pushing on each dice roll. I hate empty dice rolls, like nothing happens. You are trying to open the safe. When you fail, nothing happens. I'm livid when I see something like that, and that's why, for example, I mixed both attack and defense in MÖRK BORG. Like for me, every time you fail an attack, the enemy has a free damage, and etc. Like in defense, when you're successing at defense, you have a counter attack at the same time. I have a counterintuitive mindset to play OSR games, and my question to this whole discussion is MÖRK ORG even OSR? Like you said, and you've kind of answered it already.
I don't even know what OSR is now. But yeah, carry on. Sorry.
I just basically needed to explain myself right now.
I think the whole way through, and I think one of the things that Cyborg does it very well, actually. I wonder if some of my original vibes for the game came from just reading the page. I think it's about 10 pages into Cyborg, where it basically says you could ignore every rule in this game, but but never sympathize with capitalism, basically, is what it says.
But that's basically it.
And I think
it's one of the most punk games I've read. I'm just waiting for Punk is Dead and to make sure that it's even more.
Yeah, I think what we do in MÖRK ORG, I think there's a couple of things. So we really lean into the fact that everyone already knows it anyway. Like there are no rules about how you do things. So one of our other games, where is it? We did a game called a module we did called Tyrannosaur Inside, where a giant T-Rex lands in the village, and you have to go inside the T-Rex, and everything inside is more T-Rexes. But in that game, we don't provide any context or reasoning for why is there a T-Rex in the village, which actually means if you can just say to your characters, you hear some thumping noises, a massive T-Rex appears. You can set that in any game. That can be in Call of Cthulhu. That can be in, that can be in Fiasco.
Can be in Warhammer.
It can be in Warhammer. Well, I mean, why do it in anything else when Warhammer,
Now you're vibing. Now you get it.
I mean, because all you're saying there is how people talk about D&D anyway. Like exactly. And I'm sure because I think in Japan, Call of Cthulhu is bigger than, and so I'm sure they say in Japan they just say. Well,
I think it is. I think it's been for years, and I don't know about right now, but it definitely was.
But exactly, I'm sure they say the same thing. So so we have a couple of bits where we say, does electricity exist in this game?
Tell me.
well, we actually, what I really liked about it is I actually turn it back on the reader, because I say, because actually electricity is just magic, because it is. Do you understand how it works? And then I put a section of gibberish about electricity, and then I ask them, but you reader, you don't actually know if what I've said here is true or just likely sounding nonsense, as in, so it could actually be magic, as in
some meta inside of a text.
And so I think the whole way through we say, do with this what you will, and absolutely, like, categorically throw away what you don't want to do. And I think maybe that's you can't define OSR, as in there are lots of OSR manifestos out there that try to, but they're all different.
I think that's why the term NSR has been created, like, to separate this more free-form approach, more narrative approach to OSR-ish settings and games, and that's why New School has been born.
But I think what New School does, or I suspect does, I'm gonna claim New School. We're New School, fine. But what they all do is you absolutely can play MÖRK ORG as an OSR game. You can go in there. You don't have to be super creative. It's going to hold your hand. It's going to be vibe heavy. So it's not going to be like you look into the dungeon and there are 7 windows and the flooring is a pale shade of terracotta. When you get a big fat module for D&D or for Warhammer Fantasy or whatever, it'll say, the noise in the office is one of typists and the occasional scream. You can see the light is flickering in one corner. It's lighter than another, as in it'll give you all the details in a way that maybe is a little bit hard to actually gather at once. Whereas the MÖRK BORG style is, here's 3 bullet points for this room. Like there's way too many bats in here. Like there are windows, they're boarded up, and there's the decomposing corpse of an intern impaled to the desk, and that's all you get. And so you have to work with
you tell players figure it out.
Exactly. And then you kind of add vibes sort of to that. So why are there bats in here? Okay, fine, it's dark. Yeah, it's dark in all the corners, and the windows are boarded up, so it's dark. But so if you've got players who aren't creative, like who aren't confident, like just absolutely making things up, in storytelling powered by the apocalypse style, fine, you walk in, I want to investigate the corpse. Okay, roll a presence, roll on the corpse plundering table. As in, so that's all there for you. And so as a GM, I think you can feel, whereas I don't know if you've played Wander Home, but like I'm a very confident role player, and I find Wander Home or Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, both of which I think are brilliant, but I find them a bit daunting of like, actually, what do I do with this at the table and in this space? So I think that's what the OSR games promise, is that if you're old school, this will still work for you. But if you're not old school, and you want to do it storytelling, it will work for you as well. Whereas I don't think D&D can make that promise. It can do one, maybe it doesn't do the first one even that well, but it does one well. It doesn't necessarily do two well unless you're willing to just like ignore mechanics that you're meant to be using, you know?
That's nice to hear that you are in the spirit of MÖRK BORG. Like, it's a tool, not a Bible. You can modify, you can hack it, you can burn it if you like. Some people.
I think you do have to burn it. That's one of the that is the rule, you know. Like.
Okay. I'll be a heretic on that one. Are there any particular tables, special cases in the game that you are proud of? Like, for example, the running authors may be proud of their honor system, and is there something that you really like inside of MÖRK ORG and we still haven't mentioned it?
Yeah, so I think the specialty is the particular, because it's such a simple system, you know, like actually you don't need to do much to really flavor it quite heavily. So I do like that. I think when you're founding your company, so like as in it's kind of in session 0, we've got a kind of creating a company table, which nice. we could even have a quick look at it now. Have you got a D6?
Okay, I have my I am very fond of this D6. It's like made of skull. It's from Q Workshop, Dice Macabre set. D6, right?
Yeah, D6 and a D8 as well. So we'll use them. So
sure.
when you're creating your company, you can either just make it up, you know, like as in. So this is just if you're maybe less confident about kind of things. So when was your company founded? Let's roll a D6. 1. Okay. In the dank mists of time immemorial. So like along, like no one remembers.
I already know who is the CEO.
Okay, who's the CEO? She? Okay, just she. Yeah, brilliant, fantastic. Yeah, so it's just immediately the worst evil in the MÖRK BORG setting is the okay. Okay, and then so what is the primary income stream of the company? I need 1, 2, 3 D8 rolls.
Okay. First one is 2. Second is 1. And the last one is 6.
6. Okay, brilliant. So the primary income stream of the company is selling undead corpses to venture capitalists. So it just, but like, give us another 3 D8 rolls because they go mad. Like there's completely different things.
Okay, 3, 2, 8.
Okay, so selling priest meat to the abyss. And like, so the idea isn't that you spend loads of time dwelling on these. It's just now when everyone's doing their humdrum job, it's like, oh yeah, how many piles of priest corpses? Oh, we need to kill some more priests. Oh, have supplies been killing enough? Okay, so I need to ring the factory and get them to murder some more priests. And so you've just got this, and it's the actual idea of it is it's intentionally horrible, and then. But because it's just your job, it's just a thing you do every day. So soon you don't really think about the fact, of course we need to murder some more priests, like because we've got a backlog and it's Friday and I want to get home on time on Friday. So yeah, so we've got that. I quite like that. One of the things I wrote.
Oh my God, you've just like there is so much inspiration that you can. I'm sorry I've cut you. There's so many inspiration you can get from like listening to or talking about this setting. I've just thought about you said Friday, like Friday night, and you want to go home. How about it's Black Friday and you are not a customer, you are the salesman, and the zombie horde is launching at you because they want their 9-inch plasma TV.
Yeah, exactly. Like we've got a mechanic for casual Fridays as well, like which is both casual and actually totally not casual at all. So it's got like really, really stringent, horrible rules. Like as in, so you know, we want to have fun, but not too much fun. This is a workplace, you know. I think if I finish on like the core concepts, so I was reading The Wild Sea by Isaac Felix, which I think is an exceptional book in lots of ways, and one of the things The Wild Sea is really good at is some, I don't necessarily love every aspect of like where the mechanics are, and like, I maybe would change up some bits of information order maybe in the book, but it's really good at selling the setting. Like it's got like some paragraphs, and like you just need the title of the paragraphs really, and it tells you everything you need to know. So I wrote that for MÖRK ORG. So we've got 4 key concepts. So number 1, capitalism is evil. So like like there's the capitalism is evil. I mean, they're all kind of not that far from real life either, and like but money doesn't solve your problems, it's the root of them, so like capitalism is evil. That's number 1. Number 2, death is close at hand. We talk about OSR, like as in like I think if there's no risk, things become less interesting. It's actually, you talked about how you don't necessarily like playing dungeon games very much, and what I think is interesting is I think one of the challenges I have with writing MÖRK BORG scenarios is I worry that everyone's just going to die. Like, as in, I think characters in MÖRK BORG are too flimsy to survive dungeons. Okay, like as in,
yeah, I needed to make sometimes a solution for myself that to a never-ending, everlasting problem. What happens when you got the TPK, or what happens when your character is dead in the first minutes of a session? What are you doing then? You can roll the new player and the new character, but how does he appear and join the team? Was he always there? Do you have spare, already filled up character sheets to go into the grinder, or what? And
yeah, there's a great.
Sometimes it's a very nice solution. Sometimes it's impossible.
Yeah, there's a great. There's a D100 ways to introduce a new character that I read at one point, which as in that is just. There was a very, where was it? I'm trying to remember how to introduce a new party member. Now, I've had a quick look for it and I can't find it. There's a lot of bad ones out there that are just a bit humdrum, whereas this one was just like a wizard sent them, like as in, it just doesn't, but yeah, so I do find that can be a bit of a challenge actually. And that's where I think the narrative vibe works a little bit. If you're sensing you're a little bit near death, you can kind of retreat a little bit and kind of do something different.
Yes. But in the office, it's simpler, right? In the office, it's just another employee, like hired just a second ago because of the contract with the devil that killed your previous employee. He has to provide another one, and it's just like an exchange of slaves.
Yeah, definitely. We've actually got a rules from Panny Lines, from who created Salvage Union, which is a whole set of lookalike workers. Is your office, unhelpfully full of workers? Our expert team of trained impersonators can fill your office space, and they'll give it the genuine appearance of a real working environment at a fraction of the cost of actually hiring staff who know how to do things. And so, you could just have characters who literally are just actors pretending to know how to work in an office.
An office full of extras.
But even that mechanic, if you use that company to hire them, they come with 100% mortality replacement. So within 1 hour of them dying, they'll send a new person to fill their shoes. So it's got a built-in mechanic for how to deal with that issue. But still, it sets the vibe. Death is close at hand. Whatever you do, remember, behind every office sign, inside every desk drawer, within each filofax, the Grim Reaper awaits you. And so then number 3, work is pointless. The worst bit of the solar system is not that it hates you, it's that it doesn't even care that you exist. And so again, it's setting that theme of you're here, you might die at any minute, and even then there is no meaning to the toil that you do every day. And then finally, promotion is your only escape. And so you don't. And I already kind of said the line for it before. If you can't beat the system, your best hope is to be the system. But yeah, like the idea that, and that's just a little bit of incentive that it gives people, but it makes it very clear. Promotion, you're not going to win. Like, as in, it just lets you look down on everybody around you. And so yeah, and that's it's to give. Have you ever played Savage Worlds?
A little bit, a long time ago, one session, something like that.
So it was the first game I ever played. And the idea.
Okay.
And the idea of bennies, which is what it uses as like inspiration points or omens in MÖRK BORG, like of you've done well.
Meta currency, like.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like Savage World, you have Savage World, I have Fate.
Fate.
So
yeah,
there are already Fate points, and yeah, I know what you mean.
And so yeah, has that same vibe of just there are treats that you can get from the GM, both from having fun, but also from really sucking up to like the system that you're playing within. Just
like cookies in Goblin Gonzo.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice, I love it. I love that mechanic. I steal it for other games.
Well, I mean, and that is the beauty here, like, because I have unashamedly gone through Court Borg and thought, what do I want to steal here, and what do I not want to steal here, and that's not. I actually, so I got in contact with the creator of Frontier Scum because I wanted to copy their. Yeah, so when you're rolling abilities in this, so the classic way you roll abilities in the MÖRK BORG games is you're rolling a d20, and then you use a little table to convert that into some numbers, and then
not even d20. It's like it's 3d6s.
Sorry.
It's quite tedious, to be honest.
Yeah,
no,
you're right. 3d6. Yeah. Like, as in, it's a little bit tedious. You're rolling them together, and then it gives you. So if you get a number of 13 to 14, that becomes a +1. And in Frontier Scum, it uses the you roll 2d4. And then you take one away from the other one.
Yes, Tommy used that in Grotten as well, and that's where I found out about it. And
but it was actually, so I contacted Carl to say, is it all right to steal this? And Carl was like, yeah, I stole that from Death in Space. So like, as in, our scene is all about playing off each other's creativity, and so there was some stuff that I haven't done. So like, I really like the way that in Court Borg, they have, instead of strength and presence, they've got soft skills and hard skills.
Yeah, it's just like a CV.
Yeah, exactly, because it leans into a CV really nicely. But actually, what I did to highlight, so ours is just knowledge and presence, strength and presence. So it's exactly the same as in MÖRK BORG, because then what that does is it means the one skill that you have that is specific to your character, like, you really lean into that. So and I don't worry that people are going to struggle to, like, knowledge is their knowledge, presence is their ability to do social things in the office. Strength is it's not really, I don't think, going to harm at all. But so there were some bits I stole, some bits I didn't, and that's not a comment on saying I think in Court Borg it makes it stronger, whereas I think in MÖRK ORG, if I'd stolen that or called them, I don't know, social skills and kind of like blue collar, white collar, something like that, if I'd come up with some different skill names for it, I think then it would have taken away from the joke of what your specialty skill is. So there, yeah, that's the joy of this.
I think playing this name fun play, like of creating such mundane character sheet with like strength, agility, like defense and etc. It highlights your specialty. You are quite right about that, and also it creates this feeling of blandness. This feeling like you can have +3 on strike. It doesn't even matter. You still won't get a promotion, no matter how much you lift.
I do worry how when you go, yeah, it promotes this feeling of blandness, and I'm like, yes, yeah, you've understood the design aesthetic behind my game. And then just for a moment there, I thought, why have I intentionally designed something that's bland? Oh dear. what am I doing here? But yeah, no, and you're exactly right there. I think when you play the game and when you read it, you'll see there are lots of just really intentional decisions. There's also an interview mechanic where everybody except the player you're interviewing calls them together for an interview, and you ask them questions about why they want the job or why they want the promotion, and you just get to be really horrible to each other, and asking, but you can do stuff that you could never do in them, so okay, well, how would you deal with this scenario? And then they grab a sword and try and cut their head off with a sword, and so and then they might die, and then they have to do a new character or whatever, so yeah, lots of silliness in there, really.
Do you have some other stories behind the development of the game? Was there any obstacles that you would like to highlight?
The game isn't 100% finished either, so we've got a bare bones working game. I'm running a playtest this afternoon, but with a load of teenagers, so we'll see how that works. They're like 13 year olds.
Good luck.
So I'm going to see how I think it's going to be interesting knowing what their understanding of offices is, because I think probably it's just going to become school quite easily.
In a scenario when their characters are not simple students, but they are inside of some kind of a school council.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one thing I have thought, and I hesitate to say it because Powell will just bring it out before me, but my next project is a school Borg. I don't know if one exists yet, or if one's gonna.
There is only one. I don't remember the name right now. It will be shown in the video. It's about making a Sailor Moon, but in MÖRK BORG type fashion. Like you are a schoolgirl, a delinquent, and you're also finding demons on your free time. It's a small thing. It's a small thing, only digital. So I think you're good to go.
Well, we'll see how MÖRK ORG does. So hopefully, when you see this, we'll have surpassed our expectations. But we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so there is still more to be done. I think I wanted to. The last Kickstarter I brought to press was mostly done, and I prefer to do that. I prefer to turn up at Kickstarter, be like, here's the game, it's finished. But what I wanted to do with this one is I wanted to get Johan to do some art. But no offense to Johan, but Johan's expensive, and so I would be limiting what we could achieve if I didn't do that. So how long the book will be, we've committed to 120 pages, but it might go up to like 150. I think it's 100 plus is what the Kickstarter says at the moment. But we can extend that as we need to, and the increased costs are fairly minimal compared to as in it costs £5.50 to print a book instead of £5, if we add those few extra pages. So but yeah, it's more based on how well it goes down.
Well, good luck to you, and I hope it will be higher number that you expected it to be. It's very good that you've reminded the Kickstarter, because that would be the next check on my checklist. And you've already answered what's going to be next, if possible, like with Borg.
It's actually not
you're just plunging through my notes, and you even didn't see them.
Yeah, the next game is going to be, so one of our successes a year or so ago was Lucky for None, which is a comedy horror. It seems to be my niche, but it's a comedy game set in a kind of medieval village, but it uses a D13, 13-sided dice,
nice.
And it comes with one as well because no one has one. And literally, it is just this game. It's called Lucky for None in space. So it's just going to be the sci-fi hack of that game. But it's a fun game. It plays so well at conventions. Like it sells itself from the table. And I've really wanted to expand it into another setting. So that'll definitely be our next project. School Borg will have to wait to see how well MÖRK ORG does. I think we will have to watch this space.
That was Chris Lowry from Beyond Cataclysm Books. We are talking about MÖRK ORG and a lot of other stuff. I think maybe some. I was Enter, and also I was Mr. Q, a janitor, and this lovely intern just became our next employer.
Do I get unchained from the desk now, or do I have to stay here?
Depends on the senior management. I think you will be able to be released or become a next chair. That depends of the humor. So this cappuccino better be sweet.